This is a beginner's drum set playing lesson. Now here's the thing. Playing the drums, this is the most basic lesson you'll find getting you on your way to playing a drum set, okay? And there's a beat, the basic beat, which I call beat 1. Now check this out. Anybody can be a drummer in minutes, and this is the truth, okay? Beat 1 is typically this. It keeps the pulse of the music going. And most songs you've ever heard, at least in Western music, you could play that beat to everything, at least in modern times, okay? If you can play beat 1 solidly and musically, nice and smoothly, you can make money in bands, honest to God. So many, you could play this beat to almost anything in what they call 4/4 and 4 counts, because most Western music is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Like that whole that is a chunk of 4 too. So 4 4s there. Okay, do you know what I'm saying? All right. Beat 1. Okay, now check this out. We break this down into its component pieces. Remember, everything you ever learn is a lot easier to learn when you break it down into its component pieces, okay? So what happens here? I have, my left foot is just holding this down, okay? If you're younger, what I do with my students is you can just leave it down, okay? Just tighten it down, so. But, if you're older, just as you will a hi-hat stand, use your foot to hold that down, okay? So we break it down into its component pieces, okay? You'll see that what is happening here, if you can see, is my right foot is playing the bass drum, okay? That's the bass drum pedal, okay? As you know, if you just got a drum set, whether you're a kid who just got it, or if you're like 43 years old and you're like, I'm going to learn to play the drums, it can be done, okay? Pretty easily. And if you can play a beat solid like this, again, you're going to be raking in the cash playing beats for people, okay? So this is where it all starts. Beat 1. Bass drum, snare drum, and we'll say the hi-hat. Close that baby up. Okay, so you notice here that because most drummers in the world are right-handed. Most people in the world are right-handed. I think 88.735%. So that's why we're going to use our right hand here, our left hand here, and our right foot here, okay? If you're left-handed, it will be the mirror reversal, okay? So what happens is, playing beat 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... What happens here? Those are the elements, okay? Your right hand is paired up with your left hand. Your right hand is paired up with your right foot. 1. And then your right foot is paired up with your left hand. So what we do is, shut up! We break these into pieces. The whole piece, individual pieces. I find it's best start with just doing the hands, okay? Get your feet out of there. I'm going to use my left hand to hold the hi-hat down, but right hand and left hand. Just that, okay? Literally what you're doing is you're keeping time with your right hand on the hi-hat, and what they call these are eighth notes. Forget about that for now. Just know that your right hand's going to go da 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 da, and your left hand's going to play da where you'd clap dun da dun dun dun. I'm gonna get me a fake beer out of the fridge. Okay, that's your left hand. I'm gonna get me. Seriously, that's really it. So what you want to do It's important that you spend some time, just relax and do it, okay? It's not like, and I say this to people all the time, it's not like 7 times 7, 49, you remember that, and after a while you just always remember it. To a degree it is eventually when you really get going with it. But a lot of people, even drummers that have been playing forever, don't have a lot of experience practicing time. They practice time when they play with their band or they're just farting around, but they won't necessarily sit and play a beat solidly for 10 minutes, okay? Because most of what you do and what is demanded of you as a drummer is keeping solid time. Therefore, a lot of time should be spent playing time, just playing a beat over and over. So as a beginning drummer, if you have that information first, it's very helpful. So what we're going to do here, the 3 components of beat 1. Start with the hands. Close that baby. You're going to just do this. Remember, you don't have to do it fast. Remember, the slower you do this, the faster ultimately you'll get good at it, because you're giving your muscles and your neural pathways and your flux capacitor an opportunity to sort of kind of really in a relaxed state kind of get a handle on what's going on here, okay? I can't stress that enough. So the first component of the 3 of beat 1 is just doing this, okay? And the way this is counted, ultimately in music you won't necessarily count. A lot of people may. But the way you'll actually count this is go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, okay? You don't necessarily have to start out. When I'm saying out, don't necessarily say, okay, well now I gotta go 1. Just start monkey see, monkey do. Watch what I'm doing. Da 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 da. Think of a song like that. Na na da 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 na 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 na. Okay? Your right hand's gonna do the na 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 na, and your left hand will do the snare drum. Na 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 na. Okay? There you go. And if you spend even 5 minutes a day doing this, it'll become second nature, okay? Now what happens is, this is what I would recommend doing. I would actually start, here's the second component. Just do, remember the bass drum's going with the snare with the hi-hat, okay? Get your right hand out of there, whoop, and just do your right foot and your left hand on the snare, okay? Can you see that? So, now, a lot of things happen here. One is that when you're first learning anything, especially anything kind of is basic and sort of rote and sort of tedious as this, just force yourself to do it. What's great about us all having these computers in our pockets that are more powerful than what the hell got us to the moon, at least what was in the capsule, is there's timers on them, right? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, don't want to show you my code. 7-3. Well, as we know, at least on this iPhone, there's timers and things, okay? You have a stopwatch, you have a timer. These come in really handy, okay? Because then you just say, all right, well, I'm just going to do it for 2 minutes, okay? And that's really sometimes all you need to do is just do it for 2 or 3 minutes, okay? This will get you up and running, okay? So set it for 2 minutes and just go. Okay, so you'll do that for 2 minutes. That is component 2, okay? Component 3 is bringing the right hand back in, but in tandem with the right foot, okay? So there's a couple different ways to do this. Typically the way it works in music is, as I've said before, we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? The 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, eighth noteville, that da 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 da, we do with the hi-hat, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, well, 2 and 4 will land on the snare drum, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? That's apart from, remember, you can always just go like this. Whether you're counting it or not. Just monkey see, monkey do. But what happens is in counting Berg is 2 and 4 is on the snare. The 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay. But what happens is the bass drum is played on the 1 and the 3. Okay? So when you're doing this, you're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But since you're not really accenting or playing the 8th notes, you can just go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to component 2. Now component 3, which is what we're talking about, is there's a couple things you can do. You can kind of do it 2 different ways. Strictly what you do is you'd go, because the bass drum does land on 1 and 3, you'd go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And that is the way I teach it. But if it's easier in the short run for you to kind of think of it as the snare but just played on the bass drum, you can do that too. So like da 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 da. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So if you find that easier in the short run, while you're lubricating your physical self to get used to doing these things with your limbs, by all means do that, okay? But it's probably helpful if you just maybe cut right to the chase and just go, remember, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Now this really is a beginner's drum lesson, because a lot of people who can play will see this and be like, oh my god, dude, I know the beat. But there's a lot of people that don't. If you're a 48-year-old bond trader who's raised his kids and like, I'm going to get a set of drums in the basement, this lesson is for you to get started. If you're a 7-year-old kid who just got a set of drums, this beat, the basic, what I call just beat 1, is the cornerstone of at least all modern music, okay? So what happens here is the whole component in beat 1. Okay, that's the whole chunk as it is. We break it into components, okay? The first component. Okay? The second component. Get your right hand out of there. Smoke it if you got it, right hand. You're going to do right foot and left hand. And literally, I mean, these things, each one of these components, spend some time doing. Remember, as I've said, a lot of drummers don't practice time. Okay, they'll practice rudiments and they'll fart around and they'll play with their band. But it's good to practice time, especially if you're just starting, okay? Remember, second component. And then the third component. I'm going to slow that down. But we'll bring, now that's the monkey see, monkey do. We bring counting into it, okay? Just bring in counting. You get used to it real easy. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and silence. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and play that ad nauseum. If you get bored, most drummers are ADD or ADDHD, or ADMQR. Put it on a timer and just say to yourself, all right, self, just for the next 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, I'm just going to do this till the timer goes off, okay? Then that way you won't have a butt rash and be like, are we done yet? Just wait for the timer to go off, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... But then after a while, you won't have to sit there and be like, 1 and 8. You can just go like this. I mean, you can just play that to a song. As you speed it up, speed up a little more. okay? You really could even get by playing songs just like that, but you need some low end, which is the bass drum. So first component, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and second component with counting, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or if it's easier for you, get that and out, get that eighth note out, just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just do it for a couple minutes, okay? I mean, this is probably the easiest for most people, but force yourself to do this for a few minutes, okay? It really helps. People don't pay attention to it, but if you isolate things like that, you'll get better at each individual isolated component, and then when you tie it all together for the beat, you'll be better off, okay? Plus, it's just easier to learn in its components, okay? The third piece, with the hi-hat, with counting. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and remember, whoop, when learning stuff, go slow, okay? Because what you're really doing is you're like tattooing these mechanical processes into your brain, into your amygdala or your cerebellum or your outlandos tumor, whatever the hell it is. That's why you go slow, especially at first. Even though sometimes it's excruciating, it's like pulling teeth. Force yourself to go slow, okay? That's the tortoise and the hare. You'll get to the finish line faster, ironically, if you go slower in the short run and just get your stuff together and then smooth it out and go instead of just rushing all the way through. I can do beat 1 and just assing around for a week, and then you do it half hours for the next several months, okay? So the third component, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like I said before, you can also, if it's easier for you, remember it might be easier for you in the short run, just physically, to consider the bass drum on this as you would the snare, okay? So like, da da, so instead of da 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 da, just go da 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 da, okay? As long as at the very least you're getting 4 taps here for every 1 you're doing on the bass drum, okay? But I recommend starting out with doing the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Those 3 components. And a good way to remember that last one is, and it sounds terrible, because it probably, I mean, it is, just think of like the old Indian thing. Oh, whoa, 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 oh, whoa, 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 oh. Okay, like Dance Around the Fire you'd see in the cartoon and stuff, that total caricature of Native Americans. But at least if you're familiar with that little song or kind of the da-do-do-do, think of that, okay? Boil it down to a basic thing you remember when you were a little kid that was tattooed into your brain when you were 2 and a half watching Popeye or whatever, you know? Okay. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba-da-da-da, 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 ba-da-da-da. If that's easier for you. Remember, like, cues from the old days, from the brain, if that's the dryer. If that's already tattooed into your brain, da 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 da, use it. It'll make learning subsequent things easier, okay? So eventually what you do is you bring all those things together, right? That is beat 1. I'm not kidding. If you can do that solidly for extended periods of time, you can make money in bands, okay? Because they want people that are solid, okay? And you can, this is your first platform for diving off into playing the drums, which is a whole universe of other stuff. But this is what we'll call, in regular music, not jazz or not big band or whatever, but plain old pop or plain old folk songy stuff, just to straight up keep the pulse going. Okay? Okay, and what I recommend is to get it all going, practice those things individually. But usually what I recommend doing is then once you're going to say, all right, I'm going to jump off, I'm the bird leaving the nest, going to go fly for the first time, start with the first component, and then work on adding in the bass drum, okay? So you might be like, all right, here I go. And then, and just be like, okay. And then you might just do the first one first. Okay? Sometimes that's helpful, just to say, I'm going to start with just doing I'm going to start with my hands, but I'm going to try and hit the bass drum first when I start everything. Okay? But what I do recommend is starting with your hands, and then slowly practicing bringing in the bass drum. What you can do if you start having problems with it, jump back, I find, to the second component. So if you start going like this, like that, while you're playing, if something starts getting funky, get your right hand out and just go. And that'll sort of rewind your short-term hard drive into just what you should be doing. And then from this point, add the hi-hat, okay? Again, so I find the primary way to sort of jump out of that nest is start with the hi-hat in the hands, and then work the right foot, the bass drum into it. Here, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, okay? Or as it's counted, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or start with that, the second component, and then add the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that basic. That basic beat right there is the cornerstone of everything. It'll get you started. And if you practice the way I'm telling you here, break it into its 3 components, okay? Because when you're playing it, you have sort of a triangle of stuff going on. You have the hi-hat, the snare, and the bass drum. Work these 2. Remember, you're going to work the hi-hat with the snare, okay? And then the snare with the bass drum, boom, ba, boom, ba. And then the third one, hi-hat with the bass drum. Okay, that one can be annoying sometimes because it doesn't really come second nature. But boom, boom, boom. It's a helpful. Trust me. It is a, what would you call it? A mnemonic, like a oral AURALLY, an orally mnemonic helpful thingy. I don't know, but this is my video on beginning drum set. Hopefully, it's very helpful. Thanks for watching my videos.